See both sides like you know, see on both sides like you know.
This is Vymena, bringing you the news for today. Hi, my name is Eliza Shavika and I'm your first presenter. Today's topic is we're going to talk about why the super tall tend to die young and not the super small. There have been various studies that show a link between height and mortality risk. Brian Palmer in 2013 stated that a study of more than 2,600 elite finish athletes showed that cross-country skiers were 6 inches shorter and lived nearly 7 years longer than basketball players. The rate of death from heart disease in European countries is directly related to the average height. Moreover, Swedes and Norwegians who average about 5'10" have more than twice as many cardiac deaths per 100,000 as the Spaniards and Portuguese, who have more an average height just 5'10". So, from this study, we can see that tall people rarely live exceptionally long lives. Setting aside simple mortality, individual diseases are also found more common among tall people, as reported by Kitteson in 2015, whereby recurrent blood clots are more common in American women above 5'6", as reported by Matt Beggar in the Heartline article in 2017. Among civil servants in London, taller people have been shown to suffer from more respiratory and cardiovascular diseases, as reported by Brian Palmer in 2013 in his article And Then There's Cancer. Most types of cancer are linked to a higher chance of being tall. According to a study released by a group of researchers led by Geoffrey Cabot of Albert Einstein College of Medicine in 2013, each additional 4 inches of height increased the risk of all types of cancer by 13% in postmenopausal women. So, have you ever wondered how someone can be tall or short in this world? One of the reasons for being the tallest and shortest person in this world is the pituitary gland. Everyone has a pituitary, a pea-sized gland located at the base of the brain, which secretes a growth hormone. Therefore, if a person receives inadequate amounts of secretions from the gland, they are likely to be a dwarf. However, if the gland oversupplies the body with the growth hormone, the person may grow into a giant. So now let us meet the tallest and the shortest people ever recorded in the Guinness Book World of Records. The tallest person in the world with a height of 2.72 meters is Robert Pershing Whitlow. He was born on February 22, 1918 and lived for 22 years, but eventually he died peacefully in his sleep on July 15, 1940, due to infection in his leg. Chandra Bahadur Dani, who was born on November 30, 1939, with a height of 54.6 centimeters, is the shortest person ever recorded in this world. However, on September 3, 2015, at the age of 75, he passed away in American Samoa at the Linden Bay. Although his exact cause of death had never been disclosed, it is said that he had been suffering from pneumonia which made him incredibly weak and ultimately took his life.
My name is Atifa binti Abdullah. Today I would like to deliver you about gigantism. As you know, this super tall tend to die young. So from this, the causes of super tall die too young because of structure of the body and the size of the organ. The rare cases of gigantism are the largest or super tall occur in the world. The symptom of gigantism, example for the body, organ, muscle become the largest than other normal. The probability of the high, they can be 7 feet and that it can be more than 7 feet because of the growth of hormone and delay in puberty and arthritis. It main causes from the pituitary gland in the brain. So you can see it here from these pictures is this a pituitary gland. So from that, the function of pituitary gland is to control the temperature, sexual development, metabolism, urine production, and produce more hormone. So produce variety hormones such as growth hormone. Therefore, for those who have a genetism, the pituitary gland makes so much of growth hormone, somatotropin. So function of growth hormone is to influence the growth of bones, muscles, and other. Another special function of growth hormone is to lead a release of insulin-like growth factor IGF-1 hormone in the bloodstream. Okay, the factor of gigantism for the first is Carney complex, the second Mackin-Albright syndrome mass, the third is multiple endocrine neoplasia type 1, known as MIN1, and the fourth is neurofibromatosis, and lastly family genetic mutation. Okay, for the second factor is Carney complex. So from these pictures, you can see the changes in the skin pigmentation. So from that, you can see the near of the eye have a lot of spot here. The second factor in the McQueen-Albright syndrome known as MES. So from this definition is the polycytic fibrous dysplasia of bone known as FT. So the causes skin spot and freezes puberty. So from this you can see here have a skin spot. Okay, the third factor is multiple endocrine neoplasm type 1 known as MEN1. So the causes from the tumor of endocrine gland and genetic condition. So from these pictures you can see the lumps at near of the nose. So from the CT scans you can see the like lumps at here. For the fourth factor, neurofibromatosis, the causes of genetic disorder of the nervous system. From this picture, that girls have at the eye have list of nodules at here, neurofibromas at the hand, lump on the skin at here, lump under the skin at here. So at the underarm have skin for wrinkly, cave outlets part at the stomach. For the last factor is family genetic mutation. This causes from the mutation of genetic of family somatic mutations in somatotropinomas. So from this picture you can see the both pictures the family member have the normal range of height, but the one and the sec of two of family member have the abnormal range of height. So from they can see the gigantism at here. Conduct and control the giantism. For the first, for the person that suspected the giantism need to do oral glucose test to doctor to may look the level of growth hormone. If normal person, the level of growth hormone will be decreased. Meanwhile, for the giantism person, the level of growth hormone remains, means that the body contains too much of growth hormone. For the next step is magnetic resonance image for detect the pituitary tumor size and its positions. After that, to treat the giantism by using surgery, okay, as you know, surgery may be conducted by the neurosurgeon. So surgery for the patient that have microabdominis, that smaller tumors, and the person with macroabdominis, the large tumor, needs a long-term care after the transperineal surgery or as non-pituitary tumor surgery. Another type to treat the giantism is by using medications. Okay, the doctor will provide drug for stop produce hormone growth known as uh, estrotype or lantrotype, and the patient will be injected once a month only and to lower the level of growth hormone and insulin-like growth factor IGF-1. The patient needs to take drug bromocriptine and carpegorlin. For those who not changes or and they have no effect, to take doctor will be recommend to take feedback supplement. So and the last but not least, this, to treat the giantism by using gamma knife radio surgery. So the radiation beams to deliver a powerful dose of radiation to hit the tumor, but it's long time to treat may takes a month or years, 2 years. So the giantism patient may not be able to protect themselves. So if having any infection or in the body from the giantism patient higher tendency to die young.
There are many adverse impacts that will be faced by super tall people where the super tall people need a larger daily calorie intake to function optimally. This is because taller people have bigger bones and larger internal organs than super small people. So there is a greater chance that one cell in the organ will become cancerous for super tall people. Besides, the lungs of super tall people do not function efficiently compared to the demands of their bodies, such as the lungs of super small people. Explanations for the link between health and other disorders are slightly more speculative, but largely credible. Maybe some of them are easy to mutate and lead to cancer because they have more cells than super small people. It also allows for greater exposure and impact to cells from free radicals and carcinogens. Hormones involved in rapid growth can also play a role in the development of cancer. Thus, super tall people will also experience a reduction in cell replication potential in old age to maintain body tissues and organs, as well as a higher incidence of DNA and free radical damage. For example, tall people are likely to have trillions more cells than short people, and as a result, cell replication required after cumulative exposure to stress can eventually decrease the ability of healthy cells to replace damaged ones later, on because regeneration is limited, leading to higher incidence of chronic disease such as cancer and cardiovascular disease from greater exposure to carcinogens. In addition, organs such as the brain, liver, and kidneys become unbalanced for tall people, which reduce their functional capacity relative to body mass. Recurrence of venous thromboembolism were found to occur more often in super tall people than in those of super small people in multiple studies. In this instance, simply having longer legs and longer veins where a thrombus might.
Hi, my name is Nafara Hani binti Masra Susana, and I will continue with the relationship of the case study with physiology. The science of life is physiology comprehend the processes of living things, from the ionic and molecular basis of cell activity to the integrated behavior of the entire body and the impact of the external environment. Physiology research helps in our understanding of how the body functions in health and how it responds and adapts to the stresses of daily life. It also helps in determining what goes wrong in sickness, allowing for the creation of therapies and recommendations for maintaining human health. Aside from that, physiology study enhances our knowledge of the intricate mechanisms that control and regulate the behavior of living things. What you can see here is the graph on the screen showing us the median 50 percentile growth curve for male and female 0 until 20 years old in the United States. The source for this graph from Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and was accessed on February 23, 2013. The study of height is known as auxology. Growth has long been recognized as a measure of the health of individuals, hence part of the reasoning for the use of growth charts. For individuals, as indicators of health problems, growth trends are tracked for significant deviations, and growth is also monitored for significant deficiency from genetic expectations. Genetics is a major factor in determining the height of individuals. Average height is relevant to the measurement of the health and wellness of population. The relationship of why the super tall tend to die young but not the super small to the physiology is the factors like genetics. It may mediate the relationship between height and mortality. Human height or stature is the distance from the bottom of the feet to the top of the head in the human body, standing erect. Height is important because it is closely correlated with other health components such as life expectancy. Larger body size leads to reduction in lifespan longevity, while individuals of small stature are more likely to have lower body blood pressure and are less likely to occur cancer. The University of Hawaii has found that the longevity gene, FOXO3, that reduces the effect of aging is more commonly found in individuals of a small body size by Morris PJ in 2015. Short body decreases the risk of fetus insufficiency. When population share genetic and environmental characteristics, average height is often a defining feature of the group. Exceptional height variation, which is around 20% deviation from average within such a population, is sometimes due to gigantism or dwarfism, which are medical conditions caused by specific gene or endocrine abnormalities. We know that height is a factor in overall health. Tallness is associated with better cardiovascular health and shortness with longevity. At the extreme end, being excessively tall can cause various medical problems, including cardiovascular problems, because of the increased load in the heart to supply the body with blood, and problems resulting from the increased time it takes the brain to communicate with the extremities. For example, Robert Wadlow, the tallest man known is a verifiable history, developed trouble walking as his height increased throughout his life. In many of the pictures of the later portion of his life, Wadlow can be seen gripping something for support. That in his life, although he died at age 22, he had to wear braces on his leg and walk with a cane. And he died after developing an infection in his leg because he was unable to feel the irritation and cutting caused by his leg braces. So that's all for the relationship of the case study with physiology.
In conclusion, our group agreed that super tall people tend to die young but not super small because there are so many risks of health when it comes to grow rapidly in abnormal way. Being tall means that the number of cells in our bodies increases, which makes someone more likely to develop cancer. It also means that organs are larger, which can lead to complications such as respiratory issues, blood clots, heart disease, and sudden death. We can see that it clearly affecting the super tall people's health more than the super small people. Hence, they tend to die young because of the risk getting various complications are higher than super small people. These are the references that we use to do our case study. Thank you.